Hi, I'm Emily, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to leverage Smartsheet for churches. So I'm going to show you an example of how to collect metrics for your church and look at it on a weekly, yearly, trimesterly basis, however you really want to look at it. Then we're going to talk through event planning, so how to leverage Smartsheet for all the different events that you are hosting at your church. And then next I'm going to talk through how you could create a dashboard for each person on your team, so that they can manage all these different events that you are hosting at your church very seamlessly and have a one-stop shop to manage all those things. And then finally, I briefly touch on utilizing sign-up forms in Smartsheet. If you're still using very outdated Google Forms, it is time to level up, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should be utilizing Smartsheet and why it's 100 times better than Google Forms. So without further ado, here we go. I'm first going to start with the flashy dashboard, which I like to call the weekly church metrics dashboard. I feel like until leveraging Smartsheet, I know that there are other platforms that can be utilized to view these metrics. However, I think Smartsheet gives you the capability to slice and dice the data in so many different ways. We can look at it on a trimesterly view. You can look at historicals. You can look at week to week. There's just so many ways you can do it in Smartsheet that I don't feel like I've seen the flexibility on other platforms. This is one main view with just some dummy data in here so that as an organization, you can see, okay, how did we perform this past Sunday, the current week? How did we perform last week in comparison to this Sunday? And then how did we perform last year on the same Sunday to compare that year over year trend? And then as we scroll down, it's broken out by the service time, and then the different types of ministries that there are within this church. So we've got the kids ministry, and then also have that broken up into the age group for those kids, students as well, and then volunteers. All of these metrics are pretty simply captured just through a form. So every week, people in these ministries just submit their data through a form, and then it rolls up into this. And that really gives you a lot of power because you can see, okay, what's our weekly delta? Like, how do we perform this week to last week? But then also, how do we perform this year versus last year? And looking at it on a weekly timeline, which I think is really important. So that's the top section. Then we have different variance numbers. So again, it's just like, what kinds of metrics are we seeing at the church's level? How many first-time guests are they having? Volunteers, hands raised, online, students, kids. So being able to really see that on this dashboard is a powerful thing. And then weekly comparison metrics. So this is comparing week over week. So right now we're at week 21. But it's showing us how do we perform on week 21 over the past few years, with the exclusion of COVID times. So I think that really gives you a good look back on the performance for all these different metrics. So this is just in-person attendance, this is students, this is volunteers, etc., etc. So it gives you, again, like, these are custom built, and it's not hard to make in Smartsheet, but they're custom built charts. Once they're created, it's very easy to maintain year over year to get these charts and get these views. And this is just one dashboard of many where it's slicing and dicing the data in different ways. You could also have a quarterly dashboard, like I said, a trimesterly dashboard, if you want to see how you're performing in like spring, summer, and fall. And then you could even have an event specific dashboard, like how many people signed up for Vacation Bible School this year versus last year, so you can see that trend. And we can also pull that data from other platforms like Planning Center Online. We can pull those registrations into Smartsheet and do a lot more reporting with that maybe those other platforms don't really allow you to do. So the next thing I want to do is talk you through event planning and how to leverage Smartsheet as a church to manage all your events. You have a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different ministries involved, a lot of different people, external vendors potentially as well. So how are you managing all of these things? This is a great example of, okay, I'm a church, I host a VBS, Vacation Bible School, every year. You have a lot of different ministries involved. They're kind of communicating with each other, potentially via email, maybe via text and calling. This is a way to centralize all of those different tasks into one place, to communicate, to be marking things as complete, to be commenting and adding a conversation on this task so that you can actually stay out of email. Also, what's beautiful is about once this event is completed, you save this in your files, and then next year you can use this as a reference to see what worked, what didn't work, what vendor did we contact for t-shirts last year, whatever. So you can have all of that information stored historically, and it's not saved on people's personal computers. It's just like it tells a really good story that you can reference year over year. If I was using this in Smartsheet, I would name my event Vacation Bible School, and then you could create your own custom standardized tasks for every event you have, but then you can also add in a new task. So if you did need that flexibility where maybe things are somewhat changing year to year, you could have a standardized template, but then you could also add onto that. You can assign people to these tasks, you can assign a due date, and then they will be responsible for marking things as complete so that you don't have to ask them or call them or text them, hey, is this done yet? Or, you can communicate through this platform. You can also tag people through this platform. So if you need an update on the social media graphics, for example, you can just add a comment, tag that person, and they will get an email with your comment or your question, and then they can reply either in Smartsheet or via that email and give you that update. But what's really great about that is it'll actually give you like a historical log of all the conversations on this one particular task with timestamps and then who made that comment, which is powerful. You can also actually use their proofing tool. So if you added a proof, like some kind of social media graphic that needed to be approved, you can add comments, specifically edit and make notes onto that actual proof or that image so that whoever is doing your social media graphics can see those markups on that actual image, which is really cool. So this is a really very high overview of how you can manage projects or manage events for your church in Smartsheet. This is truly a drop in the bucket to the functionality that lives in Smartsheet, and it's fully customizable for whatever works for your teams and ministries. Okay, so we have our event planning sheets, but how does this look on a day-to-day basis for people on your team? So what you would have is something like this, where it is a dashboard for that specific person. So I've called this Emily's dashboard. And what this will do is it'll look at all the event planning sheets in your Smartsheet environment, and if I am assigned to anything within this environment, it'll automatically pull it in to these dashboard reports here. So you can see, I've just done a few examples here. So due this week are a few things that Tom has requested of me for this Vacation Bible School. If you had things maybe upcoming or completed, again, they're just slightly different filters on these other reports, then you would be able to come into here and actually not even go to the sheets. You could come into these reports through your own personal dashboard, mark these things as complete, add comments, add proofs. You could do it all through your personal dashboard. I've also added some key links and different quick links up here. So if you have external websites, maybe a Google Drive, or just any other various external websites that you want to use, Planning Center, for example, you can also have a bunch of external or internal links directly on your dashboard. So this is basically a one-stop shop for people on your team to get things done. So it's a very nice centralized hub that's also personalized by team member. So it makes using Smartsheet super easy and super simple. Something else that I just want to touch on here is the capability to use Smartsheet for forms and automated emails to maybe people that go to your church. So if you are doing sign-up forms for like baptism or for different events or volunteers, and you want to create an intake form, Smartsheet is such a great place to create that form. You can personalize that form, so you could put your own logo on that form. And then you can also automate messages to people that go to your church. So if you wanted to send reminder emails to your volunteers or send them instructions or just say, hey, thanks for signing up for this, you can actually automate that and you can customize it in Smartsheet so you can put their name in the email. Hi, Emily, I see that you signed up to volunteer in this service area, yada, 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 and send them personalized instructions through Smartsheet. So I think that's if you're still kind of caught up in using Google Forms, I think maybe it's time to switch because we have a lot more functionality in Smartsheet that you can be using and leveraging to make your life easier especially if you're doing a lot of repetitive tasks like sending emails or, checking lists or something. You should be utilizing Smartsheet because it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I hope that helps. This is Smartsheet for churches. I'm going to be doing more use case examples and maybe getting into more depth here. If you really liked this video and maybe are part of a church organization and you think that this could be really leveraged for your team, comment any questions that you have. I can always do a follow-up video for you to show you more functionality if you're kind of on the fence whether or not Smartsheet's for you. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to see more videos on how I use Smartsheet, check out this next video on how to create a dashboard in Smartsheet.